Hey guys, somebody is getting ready to come in for the sloth experience, and a lot of times they are very excited. So I really like to try to get their expression if I can. It's pretty awesome. Guys, if you want to come do this, we are at Ocoee Riverside Farm, and it's pretty awesome. I just saw a hilarious comment. It says, how long before I start doing an accent? I don't know. I don't plan on doing an accent. I think sloths are super cool.
Flash is a two-toed Linnaeus sloth. So we only have two-toed sloths here, but in the world there are two-toed and three-toed sloths. Did you just now see him?
I thought they were there.
Well, he usually is. He's usually in his enclosure. It goes up 20 feet. But for his encounters, he comes out here and he hangs out on this branch. So
Can I take pictures?
yeah, sure. You can take all the pictures you want, and I can take some pictures of both you guys too, if you'd like.
He's so sweet.
Take one here, Tom.
Yeah.
This is part of our birthday present.
Yeah. Well, happy early or late birthday.
It was in February.
Oh, okay.
This is just the best time.
Yeah.
He's a
Well, you guys
sloth.
are welcome to pet him. You can just pet with an open hand, just like that, nice and slow down his back. He doesn't really like the cat scritches. That's a baby kangaroo.
He doesn't like what?
He doesn't like the cat
Oh.
scritches or anything like that. So just an open hand, just open like that. Yeah.
And this is Flash.
This is Flash. Yes. So Flash is just a little over 6 years old. And when we got him, he was already 3 years old. So we got him from a facility where it was just observation only. He was not ever touched or handled or held or anything like that beforehand. So, and neither was he raised in that way. Now Zoe, that you guys are going to get to hold here in just a little bit, was raised in a completely different way. So she was conditioned from a young age to enjoy human interaction, whereas he was not. So we still don't hold Flash. He's never offered to climb onto us or anything like that. But we feed him, and we've gotten him now to the point where he'll eat out of our hands. And so if you guys want to feed him some of this rice mixture, see if you can show us his trick. You can extend down by just hanging by his two back feet. Look at it. So if you come down, if you want to put some of this in your hand, and then you can give it to him just like that, or the open hand like that. And it feels kind of weird, him licking all over your hands.
How much is too much? Or...
All of that's for him, so you can have whatever.
Can you do that upside down?
I'm breakfast.
Yep. So his digestive system only has one-way valves that allows him to swallow his food and for that to go into his stomach, but for it not to be regurgitated or vomited back up, which is how he's able to eat upside down like this. Yeah. Whereas if I was to try to do a handstand and eat, probably would not work out very well for me because we do have two-way valves. But everything that's inside of a sloth is designed to be upside down. And so everything from their circulatory system, their digestive tract, the connective tissue that holds everything right where it's supposed to. Because you would think that with him being upside down like that, all of his organs would go, down to his thoracic cavity. But actually,
Or like blood rushing to his head.
But for his organs and intestines, they all have connective tissue that's holding it right where it's supposed to be. So they don't jostle around and they don't move depending on what position he's in. They always stay in the same spot. And it's the same way with the circulatory system. So, we're designed to be upright creatures with our feet at the lowest point and our head at the highest point. And if we invert that, all the blood rushes to our heads, and our circulatory system doesn't know what to do.
You want more? You want more?
But for them, their circulatory system is very adaptive. So it can adapt and change to whatever position that they're in, whether that be all the way upside down like that, or if he's hanging by all 4 feet. It just doesn't matter what position he's in, his circulatory system is always going to change and adapt to that. And you can see kind of how he's twisted around right now with his hips facing one way and his spine is sort of rotated halfway to the other way. He can actually rotate his spine all the way where his head and everything is facing the opposite way. That's because he has 3 extra vertebrae in his lumbar spine that allows him to do that, allows his spine to actually twist around like that. Now all 2 toads have the ability to do that, but 3 toads do not. So 3-toed sloths have the ability to turn their necks 180 degrees backwards, kind of like an owl, but not all the way around like an owl.
Okay, so 3-toe, I'm just thinking.
So it can be kind of confusing because we say 2-toed and 3-toed. They all have 3 toes on their back feet. When we say 2-toed, we're referring to their front feet.
Okay, because
Yeah.
that's his, okay.
Yeah, so he's got 2 on the front and 3 on the back.
So you're 2, huh?
Yes.
Oh, be quiet.
And then
Does he want all that?
Yeah, he can have all of it. And
He's like,
Eat that more than once a day, or is that just his?
that's just his breakfast, but then he'll
oh,
eat.
I dropped it.
Oh, it's fine. He's usually a messy eater and gets it all over the place too, so we won't know the difference.
Gosh, did you, I just can't believe we're in a room with a kangaroo. That's just so crazy.
Yeah,
Does he just stay up there?
for the most part. So she's
So where's
still a
the
baby.
mama?
We got her from a breeding facility. We have a Joey that's out in the pouch right now, but it's not to the point where he's jumping out just yet. When he starts to jump in and out of the pouch, when we'll take him and wean him from his mother and we'll start to bottle raise them. So to have a friendly kangaroo, you have to bottle raise them from a really young age. So around 6 months old is when they start to jump out of the pouch and spend a short amount of time.
Because they're
out
kind of
the pouch.
aggressive, aren't they?
They
Like,
can be
but,
if you
yeah.
don't, if you leave it to nature and them to grow up naturally, they're gonna be pretty standoffish and, the males especially can
And
be
they can
extremely
kick.
dangerous, yeah. But we bottle feed all our babies here so that they are friendly when they get older. And we have a male kangaroo out there, Ruff. He is a little over a year old now, a year and a half maybe. And he's friendly for the most part. So we still have a rule that there has to be 2 people to go in, just because if he did decide to have a strange day and decided
You need
that he wanted to mess
somebody to-
somebody up, he could absolutely do so.
Do they ever interact at all? No.
No, she's just in here because she's still new. We've had her for like a week, a
You
little
want
over a
some
week.
more?
But she's quarantined from the other kangaroos to make sure that she doesn't have any sicknesses or anything like that that can be transferable to them. But they don't ever the sloths and the kangaroo don't ever interact, so it's not.
So
an
what
issue.
happened to her mom? You said you just got her?
Yeah, so she was just weaned from her mother.
Oh.
We got her from a breeding facility.
So it wasn't like a rescue type? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does he ever come down off of that onto the
No.
floor? So he's
No.
just on that branch?
He's always on that branch when he's doing his encounters. Now, this is obviously not his enclosure. His enclosure is back there in that room that you can see the trees coming down. That goes up 20 feet, and he likes to hang out in the top most of the time. So it would be kind of unfortunate to do his encounters in there because you'd not be able to get very close to it. But in the mornings, he wants his breakfast, so he's coming down here ready for breakfast. And he does transfer himself from his enclosure out here. We don't pick him up or anything.
Oh, so he does it.
Yeah, he hooks onto the door frame, just that little bit that's right above there, and he takes himself out here.
So he just knows to do that when you open the door?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when we first started basing our encounters that we do with Flash around his schedule, and it's the same way for all of our sloths. So all 3 of our sloths kind of are on a routine schedule where they know what time they could be having an interaction, and they get to where they're looking forward to that. Now Flash is a little bit different because Flash was not raised in the same way that Zoe and Dash were, the ones that we actually hold. So he doesn't look forward to it like, oh my gosh, I get to spend time with people, but he does enjoy his food, so he
That's
comes
what he
down.
realized.
Yes. He comes
He
down,
puts up with
wants
the
to-
people
exactly.
they get.
Yeah.
So do they all live in one, like, is he in there by himself?
They're both by themselves. Zoe and Flash are the ones down here right now.
Okay.
Dash is just turned a year old. He's almost a year old. And he is just about to be coming down here. So our future plans are, he's at the main house right now. Most of the time he stays up there in the owner's bedroom, actually, in an enclosure that's in their bedroom.
It's like the best life
Yeah.
ever.
But when he comes down here, what we're planning to do is taking Flash from his enclosure, putting him in Zoe's enclosure because her enclosure just goes up 10 feet, and then switching Zoe over to the 20 foot.
So they
and
could
putting
live
Dash
together.
in with Zoe, yeah. So we got Zoe and Dash both from the same breeder that conditions his babies to enjoy this type of interaction.
So do they like being together, or would they rather be
For the most
alone?
part, they're very solitary
Oh, I'm coming, I'm
animals.
coming.
In the wild, it's pretty rare to see two sloths in the same tree. And
Okay.
if you do, they're definitely not going to be right up next to each other, which is why we want them to have the 20-foot enclosure so they can have totally
Their own
opposite
space.
sides of the room if they want to.
I'm
Yeah.
making a mess.
Oh,
I'm
it's
sorry.
totally fine. He's a messy eater. Usually he's the one dropping it all over the place, so it does not matter.
I love his little smacking. It's so cute.
Are you gonna take any video or just pictures?
You can if you want to, just be him.
Oh.
Where are you guys from?
We are from Elizabethton, like up in East Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
It's about, what, 3 hours?
Is that like up towards Kentucky?
But no, like you go, we're like right on the like North Carolina border.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
She found this, was it like last fall you found the website?
Just on Facebook.
So, in
Yeah.
the winter, we didn't want to kind of snow was on the way.
Yeah.
We didn't really know about it, so pretty close.
We keep going.
Everything in the Yeah, so if you guys do decide to come back at some point, if you do lodging, you get 20% off any encounters that you do.
Oh,
Do you have just the sloth today, or do you have any?
yeah, we just came down this fall.
Yeah, we have a bunch of other things too. So we have the baby kangaroo, but we also have adult kangaroos and middle-aged kangaroos. So ones that are bottle feeding and things like that. So you can book an encounter to bottle feed with them or have a kangaroo encounter. And that's kind of a cool thing about sloths is that it takes their digestive tract 30 days to digest everything from start to finish. So the first bite of food that he takes this morning, it'll be 30 days before that passes all the way through. And so because of that extremely slow system, they kind of have like a little internal off switch that they can just flip as soon as they get full. So when their digestive tract starts to get backed up, it tells them, hey, stop
Just to
eating.
stop.
And they will stop eating for the rest of the day or a few hours until their system tells them, okay, hey, I'm getting a little bit, getting a little empty here, I need some nutrients, and then they'll start eating again. So unlike myself, they have the ability to just turn away food with no hesitation at all. So I can eat a full meal and still feel like I want some
But when
ice
they're
cream
done, they're
afterwards.
done.
Yeah. But after they're finished, then they're done for the time being.
How has this place been here?
So they moved in about 6 years ago. When they first came here, this building was not here. This building has just been within the past year and a half. And when they first got here, they had the horse barn and they had the cabin, the Riverside cabin. And so they started Airbnb-ing the Riverside cabin for people to come and stay. And at the time, they just had some horses, maybe some goats, some chickens, and people would start requesting like, hey, can I come and, do a horseback ride?
Oh,
Can I
yeah.
collect eggs with you in the morning? And they just, wanted to be good hosts, so they would, start to allow things like that. And it just kind of became a passion for them, and they began to just enjoy, seeing other people happy and interacting with their animals and things. So John has always been infatuated with camels for whatever reason. And so he went through getting all the licenses and doing all the right things to be able to get a camel. And then we ended up, that was our first exotic animal. And from there, we've just gotten
Hey, John, do you have Willie's gloves as well?
everything that we have now. So we've come a long way
I was
just in the
gonna
past
say,
year and a
that's-
half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops. I love you so much. Like, come here. Just that kangaroo hanging out.
Kind of a misconception that people think sometimes when they come here is that the sloths are going to be stinky or that they're going to have moss and algae and things like that on them, because the wild sloth sloths do.
Right.
They don't stink, but they have the moss and algae and
Right.
fungus and things growing on them because they use that for camouflage. But here in captivity, they're not rained on or anything like that. And so they don't have the ability to form that moss or algae, nor do they need it.
You're so sweet.
You can rinse your hand off your sink too. And so the sloths that we have here are probably the cleanest animal that we have on the entire farm. They have no natural scent glands, musk glands.
Can I use this, because I know you said about scents. We're
No,
strong.
so this scent is scentless, and it's, friendly for the animals, which is why we have it here.
You know, snort it.
I'm sorry.
That's all your breakfast, buddy.
So how many do they do in a day, like these encounters?
Yeah, so none of our sloths encounter for more than 2 hours a day total.
Oh.
If Flash is fully booked, he only has an hour. He has an hour in the morning, and then that's it.
Okay.
So for him, I said we based our encounters around what time he wanted to interact, and that was in the morning. Because that's because he wants to come down and get his breakfast. So from then, the rest of the day, we're not sure when exactly he's going to be coming and going. We don't ever force him to do anything they don't want to do.
Okay.
So if you were to book an encounter later in the day for him, and he not want to come back down, then we're just kind of out of luck. But with our other two sloths, with Zoe and Dash, they were both conditioned from a young age to enjoy this type of interaction, and they do actively seek it out. And so anytime we would go in there, they want to hold on to us.
So did they get like overstimulated?
Well, and that's the thing, is that if you were to, while they would probably interact all day, every day, for several days, too much of a good thing can be bad. So if we were to book them back to back to back to back for multiple days, it wouldn't get, exactly, it wouldn't be like how it is now where they see somebody come in, they're like, oh, hold me. It would be like,
So
oh,
they're not just full all day?
Yeah. No, they have, if Zoe is fully booked, she would have an encounter from 10:30 to 11, and then 11 to 11:30, and she's done for the morning. And then in the afternoon, she would start up again at 2. She would have one from 2 to 2:30, and then 2:30 to 3, and she's done. And she gets to know her schedule, so she knows she's in the room back there with the shades closed right now. She hears us in here talking
So
about
she
her
knows
and
her
about
time's
Flash.
coming.
Yes, and she knows that we're going to go in there and hold her afterwards. And sometimes people will just book to see Flash in the morning, and they don't book to see her. And so maybe she doesn't have anything in the morning,
Oh,
but
okay.
she's still kind of on
How would you
edge.
not see both?
She's
So
still
this
kind
is
of,
Flash.
Yes, this is Flash. But a lot of people will book a VIP where they spend, like how you guys are doing, 30 minutes with Flash and then 30 minutes with Zoe. But some people just book to see Flash. But if that's the case and she doesn't have any encounters in the morning, we're in here, she hears us talking about Flash, and then everybody leaves.
I bet
She's
they're
just kind of,
sad.
yeah, she's just on edge. She's like holding on to her little hammock like,
Bless.
somebody's supposed to come in here. So
I'm sad.
they do get used to their schedules, and so a lot of times what I'll do if I have a slower morning, I don't have
Just
to
go
go
sit
encounters,
there.
I'll just go in there and hold her. Because that's what she gets to expect. That's what she thinks is going to happen. So that's
Everybody
what
wants
we'll
some
stick
love,
to.
and so they just hang constantly. Do they ever not hang?
No. Well, the only time that they ever come down off of that position is when they're going to the bathroom. They come down, they always use the same tree, they always use the same side of the tree to the same pile that they always go to. And they'll hold on more upright. They're still holding on to the tree, but they'll come down to the base of the tree and they kind of wiggle their little booty around, they'll go to the bathroom, and then they go right back up.
So they don't ever lay like a cat or a dog. They're just
If they were to
curled up.
fall, or if they're trying to go to move to another place, then they can come down out of the tree and go. If they're trying to find a mate or something like that, they can travel. But on land, just on solid ground, is their absolute slowest form of transportation. So to watch a sloth that is crawling is painful and slow to
Just like,
watch.
go, go,
Yes,
go.
because I mean, it is, you think about sloth being slow in the trees,
Right.
but on the ground, it's like,
Even
yeah, twice as slow. But in water, actually, water is the fastest
Oh, I
form
didn't
of
think about
transportation. Yeah. Not because the water is moving, it can be completely still, but that sloth can swim a lot quicker than they can do anything else. Somebody told me the other day that he's licking the branch.
I was looking to see if he was cleaning or if he was.
They said that they saw a video of a sloth swimming and they thought it was AI. But
So
no,
it's they really.
Yeah, they really do, and it's kind of like a little breaststroke, so they'll be on their chest and they'll just be, going like this. And they do swim pretty quickly, so that's usually what the males will do when the female goes into heat, they let it out a really loud screech, and they'll do that periodically until a male finds them. And so when the males hear that, they all kind of slowly will make their way towards that noise. And then the first one that gets there will be the lucky winner. They don't fight for mates like a lot of other mammals do. So if there's another male that shows up late to the party, they just kind of turn around and go back where they came from. So a lot of people wonder how they're able to hold upside down like that for so long and not fall or not get tired.
That's gotta be strong.
Yeah, and so it's actually, when they're clamped down like this is their relaxed state. They're not expending any energy, they're not using any muscles, any tendons, or anything to do that. What's actually more stressful for them is to loosen up that claw, open it up, and reach for the next branch. That's when they're using muscles and energy to do that.
Oh my gosh, why
And
is he
so-
cute, look at him.
And so it's opposite to what ours are. You know, if we were to try to hold onto a branch, this
Yeah.
we're using muscles and an energy and holding all of our body weight down from
Right.
that. But their tendons and muscles and everything that are in their arms are so tight that snap down is just their natural position for them.
Huh.
So they're not expending any energy to do
Good
that.
morning, all. You seem like a water bottle.
So that's how, but comparatively, if we were to be the size of the sloth would be about 3 times stronger than a person. Obviously, with the size
Really?
difference, we would probably win an arm wrestling contest, but just because of how their locking mechanism works, to try to pull him down off of that branch,
If he doesn't wanna go.
yeah, is extremely difficult because, you know, just snap down, just relax for them. It doesn't take any to hold on. But so if you're trying to get the sloth off of the branch, you actually have to heel upwards, like a cover cut of it, and get it up off of that branch. So that's why the harpy eagle is actually the #1 thing that's out to get a sloth. They can get them up off of that branch a lot easier than
And
the
what animal was
jaguar.
that, did you say?
The harpy eagle, yeah, so the ones that are extremely big, have
Yeah.
real long wingspans. For them, their talons kind of have a similar mechanism to the sloths. So how they have that locking mechanism down that goes over across the branch, the eagles can clamp on to that sloth, and they're not letting go unless they want to. And so, like I said, pulling up off of the branch is a lot easier to get that sloth off of the branch.
Could you imagine how big that eagle would have to be though to carry that?
Yeah, it is extremely big. But the sloth actually has enough grip strength to withstand an ocelot or a jaguar, you know, 45 to 50 pound cat
Really?
holding onto their back, dangling down. Obviously, the sloth is going to sustain a lot of damage from that, but they have the grip strength to be able to withstand
But it's the
that.
going up.
Yeah. And so a few weeks ago, we actually had Flash's annual vet visit. We had to do some blood work and different things like that. So we had to sedate him for that. And he was out here on this branch. We gave him a sedative. And after that sedative kicked in, he was holding on to that branch. He went to look over his shoulder, and
just-
everything just froze. You would think that they would loosen up and they'd
Oh,
fall
they didn't
before.
fall.
No. So like I said, clamp down is relaxed. So he's not expending any energy
That's
to do
wild.
this.
I was expecting
Yeah.
somebody to have to like.
Exactly, yeah, but no, for them to loosen up, that's when they have to be thinking. So it's not like when we have sedatives, this is our relaxed state.
Right.
It's not like all of a sudden we go like
Yeah.
this. So that would be the difference for them. So it's pretty interesting how they're designed to be.
So did he go there because he wanted me to stop petting?
Not necessarily.
Okay, I was like, I was gonna go over there and I'll find him. I think he went over there because he was done.
Not necessarily. Sometimes he just explores around. He says, "Is it not time now?" He says, "I got my breakfast."
I've said hello. I've done my show.
He would. But sloths do have terrible eyesight. So you can see how tiny those little pupils are. Those pupils stay like that all the time in dark and light
Okay.
areas. So for them, they have a condition that's called broad monochromacy. It means that they only have broad cells in their eyes and no cone cells. So we have cone cells in the back of our eyes that allow us to see color unless we're colorblind. But since they lack those cells, they are colorblind. Not only that, but what they do see is not just black and white. It's basically just blobs and shapes. They can't really distinguish what something is. So he can't look at me and you and see the difference. Yeah. Yeah. And so for them, anything that moves towards a sloth in the wild is bad news for the sloth, and they just want to get away from it.
Right.
Their first line of defense is to just evade it. sloth, you know, if something were to fly by it or move towards it or anything, the sloth is just wanting to get to the end of the branch away from whatever it is that has startled them. So oftentimes what will happen if there's a jaguar or an ocelot that has been daring enough to come down, you know, up that tree and go down the branch after the sloth's goal is to just get away, get to the end of the branch. And if that cat is still daring enough to go after that sloth and get to the end of the branch with him, that branch is eventually going to break. So for the sloth, that's kind of best case scenario. The sloth is built on the inside to withstand a fall from up to 100 feet in the air. So on the inside, they're kind of built like trucks. You wouldn't think it from looking at him here hanging, but he has a total of 46 ribs. So that's 23 sets of ribs. So it is a lot, and those ribs go all the way down up until right up against the hip bones. So their bones are also extremely pliable, so that when they do hit the ground, everything just kind of squishes and then goes back to normal. It's not like they, you know, break bones or anything like that, unless they were to hit a branch on the way down right in the right spot. And then, you know, another thing that you think about would be like internal damage. But since they have, all of those ribs have connective tissue that's adhered to their body cavity and with all of their organs, and keeps their organs really tightly suspended in the middle of their body cavity. So even when they smack the rainforest floor, their organs don't smack their body cavity like ours do if we get into a car accident. They stay right where they're supposed to, so they don't really sustain any type of internal damage. Whereas the cat is probably not going to be as lucky. Even if they try to land on all fours, falling from 100 feet, they're probably going to break some bones. But the sloth will just look over at that cat and go, "Aw." Aw, and go right back up the tree. So it's pretty cool for them.
So is he wanting in there when he looks, sitting there like he knows that?
Yeah.
You want to go home.
We've got just a few more minutes.
Now, sloths do this all over the world, not all the time.
No, so they're native to Central and South America. Yeah, so places like Honduras, Costa Rica, Guatemala, places like that. Brazil, areas like that where it's really hot and humid.
Not here.
Well, and you think about that for the winter, it's not like that out here. So naturally, they would not be able to, they have outdoor enclosures, but we only open those up when it's warm enough and humid enough to do so. And then in here, it feels pretty good today because it's on cool, but it's at a constant 78 degrees, and that's very that's really important to them. Not because the sloth could not live in a little bit cooler elements, but it's actually the bacteria that they use to digest their food. So bacteria is really sensitive to temperature changes, and if the sloth's internal body temperature drops, and it would if the outside air did, because they can't maintain their own body temperature. So if the outside air drops, the sloth's body temperature is going to drop. That bacteria is donezo, and then there's not a way to reestablish that bacteria colony because in captivity or in the wild, they have a constant resupply of that bacteria, and that's actually through a symbiotic relationship that sloths have with moths. So they have moths that live all throughout their fur in the wild that they do have a symbiotic relationship with. So meaning that both parties benefit.
Sorry.
We've got just a few more minutes, but
If he wants to go.
we've got just a few, two more people that want to see him right
Oh,
after
okay.
this. But he'll be
Okay.
fine because he's going to get some more snappies.
Okay,
He'll be
he's
happy
so
with that.
beautiful.
But in the wild, the sloths need the moths like the moths need the sloths, and neither one would be
That's
able to
interesting.
exist without the other. So it's a very sensitive system. And so the sloth, like I said, they only use the bathroom every 7 to 10 days. So about once a week they come down and they always use the same spot. And that's because of the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship. So when they come down, they use the bathroom, they scoop their little booty down on the ground, and those moths will come down and they lay their larva in the dung pile of the sloth.
So
And
more
then-
moths.
Yeah, and so then every time is that replenished. So obviously it benefits the moths, but it also benefits the sloths, the most important part. So when the sloth grooms themselves, they actually will eat, they'll eat a portion of those moths, and that's their protein source in the wild. Not only that, but the most important part is when they groom themselves, they'll actually lick up a portion of the moth's waste. And the waste of the moth is where the sloth gets the bacteria to digest its food. so here in captivity, we don't have those moths.
That's what I was
So
gonna
they
ask if you
establish
have.
it, yeah, on day 3 of the sloth's life, the sloth will climb onto the chest of the mother.
I know they don't like that though, right?
Yeah. He says,
Oh,
"Oh,
she's loud.
the baby sloth will actually lick the mother in the corners of her mouth, and the corners of her mouth, while she's eating, the food that she's eating is bubbling up with her saliva, and so when the baby licks that, the baby gets just a little bit of mom's bacteria from her gut and her saliva to start to develop its own bacteria colony. So it will slowly begin to germinate and colonate, and they'll make their own colony, and then they'll keep that colony. He has the same colony that he developed when he was a baby for the rest of their lives, unless the temperature drops. So if we were to overnight, it was not summertime, if it was like fall or something, leave his door open, we could come back into a not alive sloth, because that's how quickly they can deteriorate. Which is why we always tell people that owning a sloth as a pet is an absolutely terrible idea.
Yeah.
The sloths that we have here are not pets, they are ambassador animals, and they serve to be education for the public. We have all of the same licenses as a zoo. We are inspected by the USDA regularly. It is, unfortunately. So there is, I swear, I call it illegal every time because it should be. There is a legal sloth trade where people will take sloths from the rainforest and then sell those to people in the U.S. that want sloths.
That almost sounds like animal cruelty or
It
something.
is. It really is because, in the wild, we already talked about how
I
they
didn't mean to
have
interrupt you on that.
have moths and algae on them. And disturbing that, for a wild sloth is absolutely detrimental, and they can't survive after
I
some
wonder how they
time.
allow that to happen.
So conservancy agencies down in places where they're native to have been doing a really good job of cracking down on people and making laws and regulations against disrupting the wild sloths. But unfortunately, it still goes on. And the places that have done it the right way, where they have like a sanctuary for injured sloths that they've taken in, those places have been shut down too because of, people have done it the wrong way. So it's really unfortunate, and that's why we have the sloths here. So John, the owner, he went on a cruise several years ago and had a similar experience where as soon as he got off the cruise ship, somebody brought him a sloth and was like, "Hey, give me $20 and you can hold this sloth." He didn't know any better, so he wanted to hold a sloth, and they did that. It wasn't until later that they realized that those sloths had been taken from the rainforest and do not have a very long life expectancy after that. And so having the sloths here, our goal is that people will get their sloth fix here where we know where they've been bred. They've been bred in captivity for generations upon generations upon generations, and we have no idea what to do if they were to be put into the rainforest. Instead of feeling like they have to go and explore something like that, and just have enough education for all of our people watching on lives and things like that. We just want people to be educated enough to know that when they go down there, that's the practices that are happening. So I don't want to cut into our time with Zoe though, so Zoe's in there taking her a nap. And what we're gonna do is I will bring her out here and we'll hold her and we'll still be able to spend a little bit of time with Flash.
I'll talk to you. It's your rice.
So it's a little bit more comfortable if you sit in the blue chair. Actually, you can slouch back a lot more. And if you sit here, a lot of times what Zoe likes to do is she tries to climb onto this for whatever reason. So I'm gonna get her and I'll bring her out back out here.
Picture before and after.
I hope I don't need a chair.
Yeah, but,
Oh my goodness, what is that?
oh my goodness.
Oi, oi, oi.
On the yellow.
That is Baku, the three-banded
Did you get a picture
armadillo.
of that?
Uh,
There's all kinds
I
of
don't know if I was
fun
gonna
this
get a picture
thing.
of running.
Get a picture of Ryan.
Alright, so this is Zoe.
Does it
Zoe
stay in the
is,
river cover?
huh?
Does it stay in the river cover?
Yes, on the ground. Yeah. So they don't really interact, they don't, touch each other or anything like that, but,
Is that fur?
yep, so he's got little hairs all over him. He's gonna dig around at your ankle.
Okay, that freaks me out just a little.
He doesn't bite, I promise, he just digs and it kinda can get sharp, but I'll get him here in just a second and I'll put him back up. So Zoe likes to be pet in a very specific way, and it's really important that we only pet her in the way that she allows. So really nice and slow down her back like this is the only thing she likes. Her sides are really sensitive and ticklish, so if we get close to those, she's gonna let you know, she's gonna turn back and like scratch at you.
Just the back.
Yeah, so just the back, and we support underneath her booty.
I don't like to scratch her. back, you said.
So I'll turn her around, she'll wrap her legs around you, and then you'll support underneath her booty. There you go. Get some of those snacks here already. Yep, just be careful of her sides here, so you're touching on her side.
Okay, she's a turn fun.
Yeah, it can be difficult sometimes when she's twisting and turning around, or she's looking for food now.
So no side, no back.
Yes, and it can be difficult sometimes when she's twisting and turning in a weird way. We just try to avoid those.
I don't
He
have
likes to
any.
dig at your shoes to look for bugs.
There may be some in there.
I wish I could get a picture of you.
You invite me. We eat that rice, we eat all this stuff.
He may pick around at it.
Oh, here he comes. I don't have anything, I'm sorry.
Come here, Waku. Not everyone loves you.
I love you, you're just.
It's a pretty weird experience to have them digging around your feet like that.
Sweet. I don't have anything.
I'm working on it, Zoe. Give me just a second. I'm clearing up Flash's mess here.
I'm not touching your stuff.
So I'll set these right here if you want to feed her. If she gives you a free hand.
I was gonna say, so support.
Mind your way.
No. Catch up some more sweet potatoes here, girl. I know they're your favorite. And they do all kind of pick what they like and don't like. They do the same thing in the wild. So in the wild, they eat the leaves of the sarcopia trees. And really their goal is to find the youngest, most fresh leaves. If they had the choice, that's what they would do. That's why they spend a lot of the times out at the end of the branches. Because that's where the more fresher leaves are at.
If you like, oh, I'll get you another.
And they do the same things with the foods that they eat here in captivity as well. So her favorite right now is
Awkward.
yeah. Yeah, she twists and turns around a lot. So we know, I talked about how their lumbar spine has those 3 extra vertebrae that allows them to twist and turn like that.
Is she trying to hang upside down to eat?
No, she's just twisting around. She puts herself in weird positions. But they can eat in any position that they can put themselves into. Yeah, because of the digestive tract that I mentioned, how they only have the one-way valves. And so they can eat in any position that they are put into.
Well, you're about to leave.
I'm working on me some sweet potatoes.
Looks like squashes.
Yeah.
You like that? Also not hot to start.
Oh, just
How much do they weigh?
So she's about 12 and a half, 13 pounds. She's probably closer to 12, 12 and a half right now because she just went to the bathroom last night. And so when they do go to the bathroom, since they only go every 7 to 10 days, they expel about 1/3 of their entire body weight.
So sweet.
So it is a massive amount that they expel.
Or she.
She says, you have more food for me?
Oh, looky there.
And if you wanted to sit in that brown chair there too, you can feed her while she holds, and then I can take some pictures of you guys both
Yeah, you guys
together.
feed at least one.
I'm gonna let you hold it. I'll fit it.
You can hold
I
it.
don't know, I just.
Yeah, that's fine. You can just-
And then here in a minute, I can take some more pictures of you guys both too.
She's like, I'm trying not to touch the
Yeah.
side, but I wanna like.
It's
grab.
difficult sometimes, there we go. And then don't be alarmed, but Flash is right above your head too.
Yeah, I
He's
know.
reaching down.
Does he want
Does he
one of
like
these?
these?
Should I not get it?
You can offer them to him. He's been kind of picky the past few days, but if he sees that you're giving them to Zoe, he may change his mind. But they are just good. They're good for him to eat too. usually that rice mixture that we gave him earlier is not something that he typically gets. But since he's been so picky, that's really the only thing that he's been eating. That's why we prepared that for him this morning. But he learned that if he's picky enough and he won't eat any of the stick veggies like this
He'll get the
for long enough, yeah, then we break it, we give in and we'll give him the
Oh, he's a smart little kooky.
sweet potato mixture.
She's so awkward.
It's just curled up in a little ball right now.
Look at her reaching for your hand. So sweet.
So Zoe came from an ambassador program. So from the minute that she was born into the ambassador program, which means that her mother was actually clicker trained to know that when she hears that clicker noise, and the breeder has that tool and he makes that clicker sound, he will give her just a little treat, and then he would borrow baby for like 10 or 15 seconds, and then give baby right back to mom while still standing next to her. So mom's never stressed out, therefore baby's never stressed out. And that time every day will slowly increase just by a few more seconds and a few more seconds up until when the baby is completely weaned of the mother's own choosing. It's never influenced by the breeder. The mother will choose to wean that baby. And then when the baby is completely weaned, it's used to being held by the breeder for up to almost an hour a day. And it's completely fine with that. And so then they go through the final ambassador test, which shows the breeder if they do genuinely enjoy being held by people and seek human interaction, or if they just tolerate it.
Yeah.
So if they just tolerate it and he kind of picks up on the little cues that they would rather just, spend time on their own and not feel like they have to hold on to somebody, then they would go to a facility like a zoo where they would be mainly observation and not have to do encounters like this. But Zoe passes that test with flying colors because she enjoys this type of interaction. I don't think you guys got to see, but when I walked in there to get her, she was sitting in her hammock, and as soon as I got over close to her, she's already reaching up trying to get on to me because that's where she's
so
most happy.
You got two more. You're done.
To be so slow, they eat fast.
Mhm. And they eat fast too when they're ravishly hungry like she is right now because she went to the bathroom last night. So when they expel that much, they're trying to make up for lost weight.
No, because it's easier to hold her with two hands where she's like this. Their little snacky is the cutest thing.
So inside of that mouth, they actually have 4 really sharp canines in the front. They don't have any teeth right here in the front of their mouth, they just have the canines. And then their molars are actually all pointed. They're not flat like ours are. They actually grind together every time they close their mouth, and they sharpen each other. And so they grind up the leaves that they eat instead of chomping them up. It's a lot more efficient. Those little teeth come together just like little points right next to each other, and that grinds up their food a lot easier.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute.
Yep. So if you were to actually look at the skull and skeleton of a sloth, you would think that that thing was like top of the food chain, flying through the branches, ripping everything out of the trees. But in the reality, there's this slow, nonchalant animal that would rather just sleep than have to find food. So I think that the Lord definitely has a sense of humor with the way that He creates the animals that we have here.
That's true.
Makes you kind of reconsider what the T-Rex actually was like in reality.
Oh, look, he's
Yeah, they love to chew. If you don't have sticks out there for them, they will eat through all the fencing.
Oh, wow, really?
They just drink milk for now, just a kangaroo.
Yeah, she's exclusively bottle fed. She will be, I don't know, for 18 months, I think, is how long we bottle feed them, which is much longer than they actually need the bottles. But to have a friendly kangaroo every time we give them a bottle is like bonding time. And so with the animals in the the interactions and things that we do with our animals here. We want them to actually enjoy it, not just,
Right.
would rather not, so.
It's pretty impressive. Could have you with a hand.
After she finishes what she has in her bowl there, we may try to reposition her to where she'll actually snuggle and not be so awkward.
Now, do they bond with like certain, like ones of y'all that work here? Like,
Yeah,
is there
so-
some that?
Yeah, so we talked about how poor their eyesight is, and they really only recognize us by our voice, and by our voices and the different inflections that we put behind different things that we say. And so when we first got Zoe, she stayed up at the main house for the first year of her life. And Donna, John's wife, is the one that does like all of the virtual sides of things, so all the bookings, everything online, she runs that. So stays up at the house most of the time. So when we had Zoe, Zoe just wanted to be held 24/7, and so that's what Donna did. And because of that, she got so used to Donna and just attached herself to Donna that Donna can't really come down here and do encounters like this anymore. Because if she does, yeah, she's just looking for Donna the whole time. She hears her talking and she wants to go to her. And so that's why we're trying our best with Dash, our baby, to make sure that he has interactions with everybody and has a chance for everybody to hold him so that he doesn't get so attached to just one person. Now, if you scoot her,
Can you pet her real quick?
Oh. What do I need to do?
so if you scoot her up just a little bit, she may, she's still hungry. I don't think she's ready to snuggle in yet. Oh, there we go. Now that is her favorite position to be in. Once she gets her belly full, that's where she likes to be. She likes to be right up against somebody's neck. I think she's still thinking about maybe eating some more. We'll see if she snuggles in. But she'll eat and eat and eat and eat, and then eat some more. But then after she gets full and she wants to snuggle, that's where she'd rather be, is cuddled in like that. And it's funny to see the differences too between each sloth. So we got Zoe and Dash both from the same place, same breeder. He raised them the same way. They were in the ambassador program, had different mothers, but raised the same way. But it's funny to see the differences between them because she is very much so, wants to be right up next to your head. And Dash, we call him our belly baby because he wants to sit down in your lap, just around your belly and looking up at you the whole time. And some people will try to like scooch him up and get him like up higher. He's like, no, stop it. He'll scooch his way back down. He wants to be able to look at you the whole time.
This is like the best thing ever. Oh my God.
You said they don't really have a scent. Will the cats smell that later when we go home?
Probably not.
Not
If they did, it would be, the only time that we ever have to clean them is their booties. So sometimes when they come down to use the bathroom, and they scoot their booty around, and if they're down, on those shavings, and they have like a little bit of a looser stool, and sometimes they get that, on the bottom, and we have to clean that off. So if they did, that's probably the only thing that they
So
would smell.
TV and Papa will never know
Yeah.
what we did.
Yeah, and they don't have any shed like cats do too. So as you're petting her, you don't have any
I
hair
didn't
on
think
you or
about that.
anything. Yeah. So they don't have any type of dander. And there was a lady in here the other day that was saying, "Well, I want to bring my daughter back, but she's allergic to everything." And so I don't know if she's
Well, that's
allergic
him we
to
were
it.
kind of
Yeah.
worried about.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'd have to do some more research on it, but it
You
seems
feel
like
okay,
they would
don't you?
probably be
Mhm.
a little bit of, what's the
Well, there's no danger or anything.
Yeah. What's the word for
Hypoallergenic.
hypoallergenic? Yeah, because they don't shed, they don't have any type of dander that comes off of them.
I just want to snuggle into
Yeah.
her, but she may not like that.
Oh, she does not care. She does not care whatsoever. The only part she's really particular about is her sides and her belly is a no place. A lot of times when she's being really exploratory, she'll lean all the way back and she's like reaching around. People are like, "What's she doing?" Oh, maybe she wants her belly touched.
Oh,
And
but
she's
she
like,
doesn't.
"No, stop that." So,
Well, she didn't like it when I was holding her and she turned, and so my hand was on her side.
yeah, yeah, she does that a lot where she'll be twisting and turning and she'll like move her own side up against somebody's forearm and she's like, "No, don't touch me there." It's like you literally did that yourself. So she is a little diva. She was our first sloth baby, and so with any first baby, you want to do everything just right.
Right.
We had Flash before, but we never had a baby sloth.
Right.
So pretty early on, she started to show us that she likes to be cuddled right up against our neck. She did not want her sides to be touched. Her belly was a no-no spot, and so we just completely respected that. We did not ever work with her on that. We never touched those areas. We just avoided it. And so because of that, she is now a year old, almost 2 years old. She's like 17, 18 months. And she still does not like that whatsoever, because we never really worked with her on that. So with Dash, he, the belly is still a no-no area. That should be the same for any sloth, because only time anything ever touches the sloth's belly is if they have a baby. We don't want to mimic any type of, sensory things like that for them if they don't have a baby. And so with him, we're trying a lot harder while he's eating to just slowly move from his back to just touching his sides a little bit.
So it won't
making
matter
sure
where
we
he
can,
gets touched.
making sure we can touch his arms. And he's doing a lot better so far. He's doing
Now, where
good
is
with-
he?
Right now, he's in Zoe's enclosure in
Oh, so
a
he
little
is
basket.
already in
Yeah,
there, okay.
he's just down here right now because he has an encounter later on in the day.
Oh, okay.
I went up this morning and got him from the main house, but he's down there right now in his basket just taking a nap.
Now, was it hard, would you say her name was Donna?
Mhm.
Was it hard when she moved down here?
Oh, yeah.
Like, for her?
Yeah, because she was our first sloth
Right,
baby,
yeah.
and it was there for a little bit. It was a slow transition, so she would spend a couple nights down here, and then she'd stay at the main house
I was
for a
gonna
night
say,
or
she
two.
probably
Yeah, it was,
misses
yeah.
Zoe too, like.
Yeah, so it was a kind of a slow transition to make sure Zoe was never stressed out or anything.
Everybody just loves you.
And we're slowly starting to make that transition with Dash, so we're having him down here more and more throughout the day. Even if he doesn't have encounters, we still bring him down just so he can get used to being
Right,
down
and just
here.
like
and
hear
people's
people,
calls. Yeah, yeah.
Love.
So sloths are extremely slow, and everything that we do with the sloths are
Can you get a
extremely
picture
slow.
like from my shoulder?
I think I did before.
Oh, did you?
I got a video. No, she's asleep, or I'll be closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so scientists used to think that sloths actually slept upwards to like 20 plus hours a day, but they actually adjusted that number to be just a little bit less, because the times that they used to think that sloths were sleeping in the trees, they were holding onto the branch, curled up, not moving whatsoever. But actually, after doing a little bit closer research, they realized that their eyes were actually open and they were aware of what was going on. They just weren't moving. And so they changed that number to be about 16 to 17 hours, which is still a lot of sleep, but not quite as much as they had originally thought. So sloths don't feel like they have to constantly be doing something like we do. If they're not eating and they're not sleeping, they're just, resting and digesting their food. They're not moving around, exploring, seeing what they can get into, because the leaves that they eat, the leaves of the sarcopia trees, are extremely low in caloric content. And same thing with what they eat here. It's about 75% leaf material that they eat in captivity.
So there's
and
not much
so-
to burn.
Yeah, and so they're not eating that many calories. When you need calories to create energy, you make ATP in your body. And so since they don't have a whole lot of calories, they don't have a whole lot of energy. Therefore, they can't be just climbing around doing random things. So, kind of a full circle there for them. What do you think, buddy? He says, give me more snacks and I'm gonna go down. Next.
Flash is doing laps, isn't he?
You do. Please tell us what your handle is. Do you rather tell? You do that on the weekend or tell? Listen. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We have a baby one, that y'all are going to get to see in just a second. Right at a little over 7 months old. And because they stay in mama's pouch up until about 9.5 months old, we have to fresh fruits and vegetables to them as well. They do have kangaroo feed that they get. We have cornflakes. They not eat that, man. It's a little weird right now. Look at what I got back. You just hold this by your hand. There you go. Atta boy. Careful, if you got chubby hands, they might get the palm of your hand. Oh, Mr. B, girl. This is what our other cornflakes, exactly kangaroo feed. We will take some of this out with us and we'll get some fresh fruit to take out for you guys. In Australia, kangaroos are not a human population. We consider here to be nuisance here, or there are nuisance, or kangaroos are a nuisance there. We had a guy come from Australia, and he said he's been hit about 3 different kangaroos. So they get out the road just like you're doing right here. I'll go grab the plate on the top. Okay.
So are you down to the ground?
Oh, you took them with you? So this is what we talk about when we say we pouch them. You get them around the purse. You can see the size difference, $4. What are you doing, sweet girl? This one I do believe, yeah, he's better. I promise you she's gonna be tall. For the baby kangaroo, she has a really long tail. So she's still learning, okay? She's 7 months. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, now when we first got her, she was take a while. But good, I'm for everything. I don't know that she'll eat that. She's still like, she's gone a while. She may not do that. You want back in your house, that's scary. Net girl. Net girl. She was not. We purchased her out of the sucker for baby kangaroos. We were joking, she was up for sale, it was a good deal. We do have one out there that was, it's in the pouch. So as soon as it comes out of the pouch, we'll put these two together and all put them together. We try to keep all of our kangaroos up theirs, and even after adults, we like to do a lot of companion animals. They do lay on their back, even when they're relaxing, you will see when we go outside, they'll be flat on their backs. They're, I call it semi-nocturnal, because in the mornings, they're super active. Super active, and then late evenings, it's cool. Throughout the day, they like to try to stay off cool. And in order for a kangaroo to stay cool, they lift their forearms. So when we go outside, you'll see it, it's like they're playing in the mud. Hey, what they're doing is they're lifting their forearms
Sanitize our hands one more time before we head back out.
You know what I'm saying? Didn't think so.
We can stick in here. Alrighty. And then if you guys do Google reviews, if you'd like to, you can scan this QR code. If you don't have a Google account set up, don't set one up just for us because it takes forever. But if you'd like to,
have one, do we?
and if you enjoyed your experience, my name is Michaela. If you didn't, you don't know.
No, you are wonderful. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah, same way. Yeah, if you meet somebody, you just back up. But yeah, the game has a link to that. But you guys have safe travels going back today, okay? You're welcome.
Hey guys, I thought I'd bring you out here, let you see what the camels are heading up to. So we'll be doing a camel encounter around noon. I'm sure we'll be live then. This is Blackjack and Marley hanging out there. As we kind of scroll over here to the left, there's one of the covered wagons that you can stay in. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's a zebra. So you'd be staying in the covered wagon looking at zebras. There's another covered wagon. And then right there, pretty awesome, right? That's the Riverside Cabin. Check back with us around noon. Talk to you guys soon.